big sky, New Mexico sun so bright, fly rod in the water, fish gonna bite.
Fish.
Mean Gene Outdoors, casting lines all day, with the trout jumping in waters all day.
Look at that.
Mean Gene Outdoors, where the water flows free, hooking dreams with ease in the mountain breeze.
Well, welcome back, guys, to Mean Gene Outdoors. It's been a little crazy the last week or two, and I'm sorry I haven't posted another video. It's been difficult to get out into the mountains. I've been trying, but this hasn't been working out. I had some things going on. But today, what I would like to do is I've had some people asking, because I built my own DIY power station, and so I just wanted to kind of show how I put that together and how I built it. Many of you guys use power stations such as this one. I have this Yeti 150, and it works great for small quick trips where you just need to charge your cell phone and do different things. But I needed something a little bit bigger where I could run lights and different things when I'm out in the mountains and traveling and staying out there for a couple nights or so. So I'm going to put some of this stuff together. I'm going to show you what I have, and what I started with is a rigid box. I had one available that I used for camping when I used my other trailer. I have a couple trailers, as you've seen in my previous videos, where I have a regular camper where when the whole family goes, you know, we pull the camper and we have plenty of place to stay, and we can stay as long as you want with a nice refrigerator running and all that good stuff. And then I also have a trailer that I built out during COVID, which is a smaller, kind of an overlanding trailer, where it has solar on the top, it has the pop-out tent on the top, it has everything that you need with that. And I'll show a picture here shortly of that so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. But then there's times where I'm going to want to go and just kind of travel on my Jeep alone, not have to pull anything, not have to do anything, and I still want to have power and different things no matter where I go. I do like to use an overlanding refrigerator, which I have. I have an Alpicool. It's a 53 quart refrigerator, and the hard part with that is when I keep my stuff in the refrigerator to keep cold, it stays on while you have it plugged into the Jeep. But then once the Jeep turns off, I don't have a solid power station for that, but a way for it to recharge. So what I did is I put solar panels on the Jeep, which I'll show you a picture of that later, with a 100-watt panel, and the cords run down inside the Jeep and they plug right into this power station, and it keeps my refrigerator cold 24/7. I can run power tools off of this inverter. I can do many different things with it. Give me a few seconds. I'm going to set up everything, show you the tools that we need, and I'll show you some of the parts that I bought in order to make this possible. And I'll see you in just a second. All right, guys. So here's some of the tools that we have that I used in order to put this whole toolbox together. One of the best handy tools you could have is an oscillating tool. This helped me cut some of the bigger holes that I needed for some stuff. Of course, a drill is handy. I did need one of these drill bits. This one goes from 1/4 inch all the way to 1 3/8, which is really good because there's some holes that we needed to drill for that. Of course, a Phillips screwdriver. I had some pliers handy. I did have a Sharpie so that way I can mark my spots and mark the holes where I needed to pre-drill. This is a drill bit that I use for those pre-drilled holes. This one's a DeWalt bit, and I'll show the numbers on the side of what size it is. A tape measure, of course, and a cutting knife. And then I do have some tools for cutting wire and stripping wire, so that way we can take care of some of these cords that we needed. And that's what we needed for some of the tools. All right, guys, and here's some of the parts that we're going to need. I did have this box handy. Um, I bought this at Home Depot, and I used to use it for some of with my overlanding trailer to put pots and pans and stuff like that. But I don't need that anymore. And then I just came up with this idea to utilize this box, and I've seen other people on YouTube with these boxes and creating those power stations. So this is a box. Inside is where we're going to have our power station. I did do a few things already with this power box. This is a 1000 watt inverter. And then of course I had to buy a fan where this fan plugs into the inverter with a USB. And then it has a switch, and I use double-sided tape in order to mount the switch onto the sidewall, and that way I can turn the switch on and off so it's not drawing power all the time. But this sucks that hot air out of the box, and it comes out the side. Drilled a hole about the same size as this, and then just pre-drilled my holes for the screws with that bit on one of those parts, and then just bolted it in there. I also bought a power strip where you can see it's mounted. I had to drill a square hole where this would fit in there and then just screwed it in there. It has two outlets, a USB and a USB-C, and then it's just a regular plug where it goes from that power piece. Just a regular plug, and this plugs right into the power station, and that's what provides the power from the inverter to out here when we do want to use it. The next part we need is this Life PO4. It's a 100 amp hour battery, 1280 watt hours, 12.8 volts. It's a lithium ion battery, and this will mount inside the box as soon as I get there. The inverter also has larger gauge wire. I believe this is 8 gauge wire. And then I also had to purchase, which is called a Bojack. It's a 100 amp fuse that I attach to the power that comes from the inverter. And this is what will set onto the battery itself. And then everything will screw on and connect to this for your positive power. And then of course you have the negative wire that goes to the battery. Since I am going to be using solar charging, I did purchase this Renogy, and my solar panel is 100 watt Renogy as well. This is the Adventure, and the power will come in, and then out from here to the positive and negative of the battery to help charge that battery. So that's the inverter. I did have to purchase some 10 gauge wire. This is the 10 gauge wire. This is the wire that's going to go into the charge controller and to the battery. And then of course I had to buy one of these outlets right here, where I drilled a hole with that drill bit and mounted it in here. That's where the solar will be plugged in, comes into the inside of the box, and these two wires go connected to the solar charge controller. So I'll be putting this together here in a minute, and I'll be kind of going step by step of how I put this together and then show you the end result. All right, guys, so here I have my charge controller, and we're going to start to connect this into the box. As you saw, we have our plug coming in from our solar, and then it comes through to the inside. And of course you have your positive and negative. This is a 14 gauge wire. I went ahead and connected my positive and then my negative, and then I took those two wires, and this is the 10 gauge wire that I had to purchase. It has this end, but then it has the eyelets at the end for our positive and negative, and I put those in there, positive and negative. And then of course I already pre-drilled my holes for this charge controller to mount onto the side of this box. So we'll go ahead and set that box here and match them to those pre-drilled holes. And I'm just gonna I'm not gonna fully screw it in yet, but we'll get these in there. and we'll just get those screws started. This one's a little bit difficult because it's way in there. Oops. Sometimes my hands are kind of big and it's difficult to get in there, but I'll get that in there. I'm just going to kind of tighten them just a little bit. And you could put nuts on the backside of this, but if you, with that right size bit, it does a really perfect hole to where these just screw right into the box itself. They kind of show on the other side a little bit, but that's fine. But they still get in there nice and snug. And I will put some nuts and a washer on the ones that I can on this backside, just to give it a little reinforcement. But for the most part, they are fine the way they are here. I'll go ahead and tighten these up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get my wires set up. Now from the charge controller, my positive, I went ahead and I connected it to the top of this fuse box, or this fuse. It's a 100 amp fuse. I'm just going to cover that up. And so I'll set this to the side. And then of course I'm going to take my negative from the solar control panel, and then this is to the inverter. And I'm going to take this battery and we're going to sit it in there neatly and softly. Right in between. Oh, by the way, I also mounted a strap. So you can see these little brackets. I bought a little 3-pack of these off of Amazon. It has the little brackets. And I used not these longer screws. I got my own little black screws to where they go into the box, but they don't go all the way through. And it mounts them nice and strong in there, and ran the straps through there. And then of course it's under the battery itself. And set this down. And the reason I have those straps in there is you can see here's one end here. And let me find the other end here for you. And then they can come up and over. So that way I can strap this box down and it's not sliding around everywhere. So this is what I did. Oop, and this should slide in there with this other strap so they get in there all nice and neat. And then I just tighten the battery really nice. All right, so that should be good. Now I'm going to take this positive wire that I have here. Let's go ahead and I want to connect the negative first. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure which one, but I'm not too worried about that. So here's my negative from my inverter, and this is from my charge controller. Get those in there. All right, take the screwdriver, get that nice and snug. You want it nice and tight, but not too crazy. And I'm just going to tuck these black wires in here inside the box. All right, and then we'll do our positive. Oops. I'm going to screw this in there. Sometimes it's a little trying to get these to match here. All right, get this all tightened up. Now the reason, if you're using one of these ridge boxes, the reason I have this angling out this way is you can see this top has these gridded holes. And the way I have this battery positioned is that when you close this box, this fuse goes into that ridge hole without me having to drill anything out. It fits perfectly in there for me to close the box. So that's why I have this facing out. I mean, you could face it in, but it works better. If I face it in, it would hit these pieces here and it wouldn't close the box. So that's the reason I do that. All right. So right now I have power in the battery. The battery is charged. The plug is plugged in. Everything is good to go. So we'll go ahead, and it looks like the solar is all on and ready to go. And it shows the battery and stuff in there, but The power inverter itself also has, if I press the button to turn it on, so we'll turn this battery on, or the inverter on. I'm also going to turn the fan on so you can see that the fan turned on, so it's sucking that hot air out. And it shows our battery power, voltage, everything coming in. And right now, everything, I have power to this box. I will come back in a few minutes and I'll show you how the solar plugs into the box and it'll charge. That comes from the solar panel. And then I'll also plug in some tools in here for you so I can show you how it's all working. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I brought the box outside so I can show you kind of how I set it up in my Jeep. What's nice about this box is that I told you I have an overlanding trailer, and this box can be moved from my Jeep and it can go into that trailer and it can power that trailer. It can power just my stuff in my Jeep. If I want to put the fridge in that other trailer, I can, and everything will run into that because my other one has solar as well. So I just connect the solar to this box and it powers everything. So I can move this box back and forth. I could even use it for a bigger camper if we want to, for camping as well, so we could have an additional power source outside or whatever it may be, and we don't have to run the generator all the time. So it's just an all-around good thing to have when it comes to power when you're out in the mountains. As you can see, I have the solar panel. It's a 100-watt Renogy solar panel. I found these mounts on Amazon that mount to my crossbars, and then it mounts to the solar panel. I do not want to drill a hole into the top of my top, so normally I run this cord into the window and then just close the window, and then it's plugged into the box, so that way it's charging by solar all the time when the sun's out. So right now I just have it shown where you can see where it's plugged in, and in the charge controller shows everything that's power's coming in. The solar's charging the battery right now. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little difficult to see. Let me press the light to see if it turns on. There we go. There's a little light, but not the greatest, but you can see it. And then of course you do have to turn on the inverter. And then I took my refrigerator and I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. And then you can see that it does power on the refrigerator and it is already starting to cool. I usually keep the refrigerator in the back of my Jeep, but I do have access for my other trailer where I can take the refrigerator out, put it into my other smaller trailer, the overlanding trailer, put this in the overlanding trailer, and then this will run everything within that little trailer as well. Or like I said, I can put it in my Jeep, have my refrigerator in my Jeep, have this charge box with all my stuff in my Jeep, and then of course it'll run power, it'll run the refrigerator, everything 24/7, and I don't have to worry about the food getting cold. And this is a game changer, this refrigerator, because I hate having to go camping and staying out there and then having to worry about ice all the time. So if you guys have an opportunity to get yourself a refrigerator, I would, because this thing is amazing. But then again, there it is. This is my DIY. Um, my power box. If you have any questions, leave any things in the comments, and until next time, we'll see you guys later.